Good afternoon, everyone. Darius Bell here with ABC Tokens. I'm here with my premier co-host, Matt Endelman, CEO and co-founder of ABC Tokens. And this is the very first episode of ABC, our new podcast. And ABC stands for a blockchain conversation. And so we come together with some very interesting people around crypto, commercial real estate, the convergence of blockchain technology on our entire world. And in the process, we get to know about them, what makes them tick, what's going on in their world, and where they see things and how they're moving. So today we have Deena Zimmerman, Vice President at SVN Chicago, a national commercial real estate brokerage with over 160 offices across the United States, which is a ton. Deena has won multiple awards in her time in the space. And if I'm not mistaken, she's also a Golden Gopher from the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
Deena Zimmerman, welcome to a blockchain conversation. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the shout out to the Gophers. They're my boys and girls. I love them. So
yeah,
thank
Gophers,
you. Excited to be here.
I used to live in Minnesota. I'm a Gophers fan for sure.
All right, awesome.
For sure. Well, first question, Deena. How are you? How's your world?
Good. It's good. The world is good. The world is good, and it's been a great day. I've had Mondays are always my Zoom days, so I'm on screen a lot talking to people, and it's funny because I think you can take that one of two ways. People either say, are you pooped by the end of the day? Are you zoomed out? Or are you invigorated? And it depends on how you set up your Monday calls, right? And I on purpose try and set things up that invigorate me, excite me, fill me up. And it's not always deal making. Oftentimes it's just great conversations that I hope at least a deal making. If nothing else, it's a great conversation. So today's been one of those days, and I love anything and everything about commercial real estate technology specifically. And most of my calls today have been about different tech platforms. So I feel like I've been geeking out a little bit. It's been fun.
We're certainly thrilled that you're able to join us today and excited for the conversation.
Me too.
Well, that being said, before we hop into this great conversation, tell us a little bit, I'm new, I just met you. I'm excited to get to know you, and our audience is too. And so give us a quick 2-minute breakdown of just your professional journey into the commercial real estate space.
A quick 2-minute, actually, this was the call I had right before this. So in 2005, I worked for a real estate trade publication. It was actually a residential pub in Chicago, but obviously, especially at that time, development was booming on the residential side. It was a great way to get my foot in the door in real estate. I knew I wanted to expand that role and get my license, but being a residential agent, I just didn't want to do it. It just did not, it just didn't feel right. But I'm like, well, what else do you do with your license? And one of our trade publications our sister publications was Midwest Real Estate News, which is still a very strong and powerful publication in commercial real estate. And they asked me to help them at one of their events. And I see people from Sperry Van Ness, actually, Matt, it's crazy at the time, and talking at this event. I thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do. You just felt the energy, you heard the deal making, and it was 2007, and best time ever, right before a huge downturn. But it was, somebody gave me some great advice that actually, if anybody will be listening to this, getting into the business now, the smartest thing I ever did was get into the industry during a downturn. If you can make a name, make a living, right, and grow your business in that type of an environment, you can do it in any environment. It was the best advice I received, and I'm here how many years later, and really grateful for that. And a lot of the times that are happening now remind me, especially on the tenant rep side, which is what I primarily focus on, representing businesses grow and expand. It's very entrepreneurial right now, right? The pandemic, I think, has forced a lot of us to realize, what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do? We only get one turn around the sun. And it's an exciting time to be in the industry. And I'm here how many years later, and it's every day is different. It's a snowflake. And if you're not learning and growing, I don't care how many years you've been in the business, then you should be doing something else, because we're here to learn and grow every day. So it's been, in a nutshell, that's been my journey. And I'm have a niche in encouraging and lifting up women in the industry, big time in mentoring and in commercial real estate technology. I suppose that's sort of what sets me apart. And I've been with SVN Chicago now for almost 7 years. I love it.
Okay. So you got a lot to talk about. So we might be more than 30 minutes, just so you know.
We'll see.
Okay, but taking it back high level, commercial real estate. So you have people who work in the field who are super experienced, but then you have people who hear about it in, a headline or Fox News, MSNBC or something like that. So can you maybe just give us a little bit of where you see the commercial real estate landscape right now? Because we're coming out of 2 years with COVID, right? And the workplace environment, things have changed. As you look at it as a professional, is there something that excites you about it?
Yes, everything. And what I mean by everything is you've got two sides of it, right? You have the commercial real estate practitioners or those who do commercial real estate, whether it's lending, they're brokers, investors, developers, whatever, right? You have that side of it. And then you have those that are coming into the industry. And then you obviously have all the asset classes. And obviously office and hospitality have taken quite a hit. And I think they'll be the slowest to recover. And we're slowly seeing that happen. My area of specialty is retail. And it's funny because prior to the pandemic, I do quite a bit of, I do a lot of public speaking on a national level regarding retail specifically. And I used to get beat up like for a couple of years prior to the pandemic. Retail's dying. Please leave the sector then. I'm more than happy to take your business because it's anything but dying. Yeah, a lot of businesses were closing, but I mean, look at what happened during the pandemic. Men's Warehouse, Kmart, JCPenney, I mean, among a handful. But remember, prior to the pandemic, they were announcing bankruptcies. They were announcing, they were filing Chapter 11 left and right and trying to, recoup what assets they did have. The pandemic really just pulled the plug on a lot of these businesses that were already on life support. Where we think about the investors, the landlords of these properties, if anything, every month they're like, oh my goodness, am I going to be getting rent this month? Yep. Well, now they know and they can make a better plan, right? So I think that if anything, the pandemic helped right size some of these companies that were struggling anyway. And a lot of businesses, retailers were closing because they didn't need as big of a footprint. I mean, look at Target. Every year they're doubling and tripling in number. They may not have the same footprint, but they're still out there. Right. And my favorite word is clicks to bricks. You look at this phenomena of all these businesses that were very successful, Bonobos, Thai Bar. I mean, all of them. Warby Parker, great example, built their entire business online. But at some point you need that brick and mortar. And in my opinion, I've been really tracking this. I think the pandemic has only helped speed that up. A lot of people did online shopping during the pandemic. I mean, they were before, but when we couldn't go shopping, where else were we going? And you realize that there were a lot of really cool brands that were out there. So I think for me personally, being in retail, this is one of the most exciting times because I mean, we were so busy last summer as we were, still really locked down. I mean, it feels like Groundhog Day every day. But, businesses realized how they could be nimble in this environment. And then conversely, I read this really cool article. I think it was in Biz Now, but don't quote the publication, but I should know it because I've read it a million times. And they talked about how for years they wanted to do, researchers were trying to do a study on what the workspace of the future will look like. This is well prior to 2020. As they're watching the millennials and especially the Gen Zers coming into the workforce, knowing that they want a different type of office environment than even we're used to. And we're all young, but we're used to a different type of work environment, right? Very young. But the pandemic sort of forced this real-time study on what that's going to look like. And if you think about it, commercial real estate in general, in my opinion, I know this is an overused word, but we pivoted really nicely once we figured out how to do business when we're not all together. My office, SVN Chicago, we're one of how many hundreds within the SVN system. And we're always within the top 3 of all the companies, of all the SVN offices. When we look at numbers at the end of the year, we had our biggest year as a company, as SVN Chicago in 2020. And it was surpassed in 2021 by a lot. And maybe 10% of the people we're in the office. Now my owners are going to listen to this and they're going to be pissed off, but it's the truth, right? The proof is in the pudding that we put up some huge numbers when most of us weren't even in the office. But then again, how do you create culture, right? So it's figuring out how to do those things in this new world as we look to hire younger talent that's coming out of college. So I think, in general, we fared really well, but you're either going to be the ostrich with your head in the sand, or you're going to realize this is the times and you're going to figure out a way to work around them and be nimble and be creative and create culture in a number of different ways. And I think that goes for all aspects of real estate, really.
It does. And I think it really extends into entrepreneurship as a whole, in my opinion.
Totally.
Right?
Me too.
So people don't know this, but behind the scenes when we were hopping on, you for about 20 seconds, you got excited about technology and blockchain, and you were going to start going as to how something in you is super excited about what's happening. And being that we are a fintech startup utilizing blockchain to democratize commercial real estate investing, talk a bit about that. What's been injected into your worldview quite a bit that's got you so excited, and what's moving and shaking in that noggin of yours?
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because I have to give Matt a lot of credit, because obviously we know each other, just through the industry and on social media. But when he reached out to me to talk to me about ABC tokens, I don't think, and I told him how excited I was about this space and how I'd been geeking out, and he didn't even realize it. And again, I think you start putting those things out in the universe, and I do believe everything sort of starts swirling around. And for me, I knew that there was a space back in 2012 for commercial real estate technology. And trust me, I'm getting around to this, but I say that because we're still, to this day, when you look at residential real estate, I think we're very far behind when it comes to tech. And I started becoming a beta tester for any and all startup tech platforms, because again, I love my startups anyway, whether I'm repping them or not. I think they're amazing. But going back to what I was saying about the new work environment in commercial real estate as it relates to, practitioners, and whether we're in the office or we're out, you have got to stay with the times and stay ahead of the times, or you wind up becoming a dinosaur. And you don't have to have a million tools in your toolbox when it comes to technology, but you have a handful of really great tools that helps you be I'm a better agent. I'm a better advisor for my clients, because I'm a data geek. So I love, tapping into demographics, into sales numbers, into this, that, and the other. Well, blockchain's the same. I remember when people started talking about that a handful of years ago. It's way over my head. Even now, I need graphics to explain. Thank God you guys have good graphics, because it's hard for me to explain, but I get it, right? But I also know this is something we all need to pay attention to, because going back to my comment in a very strange way that I'd mentioned about hiring the next, wave of professionals, agents, like commercial real estate, well, probably all of them, but I'm in commercial. These Gen Zers, or these millennial, or Gen Zers and millennial, they're gonna expect to be paid in Bitcoin someday. I fully believe that. So let's understand what it looks like. And let's, to be able to transact real estate through blockchain, how amazing. And people have actually said to me, well, aren't you afraid that it's going to get rid of the middleman? I'm not the middleman. I'm the one that because I've had people say that to me before. Well, don't you think technology in general, you look at Zillow, on the residential side, you look at CoStar, all of it. Someday they're going to, hello, Uber and Amazon. In the real estate space. Someday, are they going to take our job? No. The fact is, the consumer goes online to learn about everything, including blockchain. But at the end of the day, they need that professional to help them, discern that information and pick those pieces that are important to them and make really good decisions. And so we're never going to leave, but we do need to understand that space, and to see real estate get in, to blockchain. This is to be able to tokenize an asset. It's fantastic. I love watching what Gary Vee is doing, even when it comes to art. And did I send you that link last week, Matt, about Snoop Dogg
No, you didn't send me that one. But
Oh my
Metaverse?
gosh. I mean, this is amazing. Yeah, going on OpenSea and you can buy a
Yeah.
piece of like Snoop Dogg artwork. But this is fascinating to me. And I know I'm talking art, but you pay attention to that. It's the same in real estate, right? And so to understand that, that's I don't even remember what your question was, but this is where I geek out so much.
Yeah, and I wanted to say what was neat is when I reached out to you, knowing that we wanted to have somebody with your experience, your network, and your reach to be one of our advisors, and because you focus on retail, it was perfect for our retail sector. But I think when I reached out to you, I wrote kind of a lengthy text, and you were with your niece or something, already talking about like blockchain and Bitcoin, and you were like, I think you had goosebumps, and you showed her the text. You're like, look at the text I just got.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Me making kind of making that offer, wanting to talk to you and see if you had interest in joining the ABC team, and of course we're grateful that you said yes. And
but just putting it out in the universe, right?
Exactly. And I think it's cool, your background, your experience. I know you have more kind of knowledge and even connections of other markets outside of Chicago, and that's kind of something I wanted to talk to you about because I have some experience in Florida. I got my license down there a number of years ago. I then did some networking and I let it expire because it didn't make sense for me. And I couldn't. I would be doing a client a disservice if I was going to go fly down there on a whim and help them with a real estate transaction. No, I just refer the business to the people I met there, the experts in whatever, sector, asset type, whether it's, retail, office, industrial, whatever it is, rather just do the referral and send them down to Florida. So I've pretty much kept my focus local to Chicago. But I was curious what you think in terms of what are some promising markets? Where do you think, what cities, what states, what asset types do you see have promising futures? I know you said office and hotels will have maybe the slowest rebound or bounce back from the pandemic, but maybe talk a little bit about other areas geographic areas outside of Chicago you have interest in.
Yeah, and I would say probably 50% of my business, maybe a bit more, I do out of state, which is great with my connections, not with just SVN, but I do a lot of stuff within the National Association of Realtors because, to your point, I can look at an investment in Florida, and especially retail, and I do a lot of multifamily in that space too, and I can certainly speak to overarching the location based on, the trade area and the comps and so on and so forth.
There's so much data, right? That you can
so much data. But at the end of the day, you do need boots on the ground. I mean, you need somebody there to, to your counterpart, because you're right. We'd be doing our clients a disservice. But it is interesting because you look at certain markets, and I say that about office, but you look at markets like Knoxville, Tennessee in general, like all the red states, especially because of honestly, like we should be looking at those we were before the pandemic. But, for office, interestingly enough, I think boutique office people should start snatching that up now, because people still need an office, maybe not these huge towers like we're looking at in urban environments like Chicago, New York, but people are relocating. Knoxville is one of the strongest markets. Austin, Texas for anything. We should be looking at. I'm saying that we should be looking at that for ABC tokens.
There's like an 18,000 square foot, 3-story office building, maybe a mile from me, kind of in the Elmhurst area outside of Chicago. And I drive by it like twice a day. It's been for sale for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. The sign is kind of falling apart. It's a CBRE sign kind of falling apart in the front of it. But I'm just thinking to myself that I haven't looked into what they're asking. I'm focused on so many other things right now, but I dream about fixing it up, making it a little bit more hip, making it a shared office space of sorts, and appealing to like maybe Gen Z and millennials who are looking to collaborate with other freelancers and people in creative spaces that could use an office, because we have like the Industrious or WeWork or these others in downtown, but I don't think I know of anything like that in the suburbs, and maybe starting on a smaller scale, but creating a space where people could come and collaborate. Kind of sounded neat to me, and I think it's a perfect building for that.
And people are moving to the suburbs. Millennials are moving to the suburbs. They want more space because, again, to your point, you should look into that. And it's not unlike why I'm saying people should be looking in Knoxville or in Austin. Chattanooga is another amazing market either of the Carolinas, huge. I mean, that's where I'm looking big time with my clients. Indianapolis, especially on a retail perspective, only going in one direction, and that's straight up.
Oh, cool.
I have some clients who will 1031 out of retail into multifamily, just for a more stable asset and a little bit more hands off for them if they get a good property management company. We're done in Arizona. We were looking in Arizona forever, but I mean, cap rates they're crazier than Starbucks for multifamily, right? So we're just shifting, and now we're looking at the secondary and tertiary markets within a market. Like, for example, some towns I've never even heard of in Tennessee, but they're within an hour of Nashville, for example. I mean, and
Nashville's been crazy hot these last few years.
Nashville's crazy hot, but that even, you got to really watch it because these cap rates are getting kind of nutty. I read this awesome article though 2 weeks ago, and I shared it on LinkedIn. I may reshare it after this, and it was talking about what markets we should be looking in. And I sent it to all of my clients, and they thought that was the greatest tool I ever sent them. And they were talking about secondary and tertiary markets. And the article actually started out with Manhattan, ... Manhattan, Kansas. I'm like, what? And then,
neat.
But you talk about the industry that's around there, and why wouldn't you? And now I'm starting to dig in, like within an hour of Manhattan, like what else is in, this market in Kansas. Nebraska is a great one as well. I mean, these are the markets we should be looking at, especially. I have this thing with opportunity zones. I think, in certain states, OZs are actually in pretty strong markets. They're just trying to bring, my opinion, they're just trying to get out of state investors to come in. But I did some great opportunity zone deals right outside of Mesa, Arizona. And within 9 months, my client doubled what he put into it.
Wow.
Right.
Yep.
But I'm starting to see this correlation then with these secondary tertiaries and that. So it brings, if you're looking for value add, these are great markets to be looking. And it'd be fun to see that in the Bitcoin space, right?
Yeah. And so when you've been talking to some of your clients, and they might ask you if you know anything about the tokenization of commercial real estate, now probably even just 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago, you probably knew a little bit less than you do today, since you've kind of joined the team and have gotten some of the material that we've sent you. Because I know it's a curve, right? A learning curve when you get into something like this. Yeah. But I was just curious, do you have conversations with people who are looking to tokenize commercial real estate and be able to offer a fractional interest, the investment opportunity to investors? Does that seem like any commercial real estate owners are talking to you about that?
I'm talking to them about that.
Yeah.
No, I am, especially since we've gotten on board with this. And because I'll tell you what, it's interesting because I'm going to go there. I mean, this is commercial real estate. There's a lot of old white guys. Mm-hmm. And I love, especially the real old ones. I like to talk about this. It's amazing because you guys, most of them are really on board with this. And like a couple,
it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And I love that. Those are people I want to work with because again, you're innovative. And because if it's not us, if collectively or individually, we're not doing this, somebody else will. Mm-hmm. I mean, the more I dig into this, even if you just keyword search, tokens, real estate, I mean, you're seeing taglines of JLL, when you're looking at some of these larger companies. I mean, hello, did I not just read the other day that JP Morgan Chase is interested in getting into this space? Did you? Yeah. It's
happening. And then NASDAQ just came out with an article that says like tokenization of, real world assets is happening now. And so, we definitely are at the forefront. We put a lot of thought into how we built the company. And I think the future looks bright here, both for us as an organization, but also the investors that, join us.
Well, what I love about it is, I think about the groups that I work with and, some of them are very well funded, but to take it to that next level, even the entrepreneurs that I work with, when I say that, I mean, more of the mom and pops who are building their business, a lot of them want bigger pieces of real estate. They want to, however it looks, invest, and it's a strong asset to invest in general real estate, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of them don't have the funds that some of these other people do, to be able to buy even a fraction of real estate with the token. I mean, you can buy for $100.
Yeah, and for inflation right now, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's hit 7.5%, and is again the at a 40-year high, and it's just where does the average investor hedge? Where do they put their savings? What is their hedge against inflation? And so that's one thing that was important to ABC, and a reason why we wanted to democratize commercial real estate and use blockchain to deliver the opportunity in a digital security, was because we feel that two of the top hedges against inflation are commercial real estate and cryptocurrency, and we lie at the intersection of the two. So
I just think it's incredible. And again, like we're talking about, this is the wave of the future. So people really need to do their research now and jump on it. And I love, like, for somebody like me, I like that I can put $100 into ABC tokens or however much I put into it, but I'm not going to, you told me I'm not going to see it for a while. Good.
Yeah.
I'm shiny. Oh, I have something new I should be buying. No. But I think, that's the opportunity for these young investors. I mean, I really was talking with my niece about all of this. I showed her your text because, she's 16 and I come from a very strong German family where you have to work very, very hard, sun up to sundown. Like we call it the farmer mentality. And, only then do you deserve to make the money you make. And my niece is saying to me, well, I want to get into this. And she understands tokens better than I do. And I want to get into this. And my family calls her lazy. I even thought that too. I'm like, oh, and she says to me, she goes, well, what's wrong with passive income? I'm like, nothing.
At 16 years old, that's amazing.
And she learned all that on TikTok, by the way. And I'm like, that's fabulous. And then YouTube, right? That's where they're getting their information. But I said, there is nothing wrong. I go, I'm 47 years old. And I'm now realizing that is working smarter, not harder. And I said, you're a young female. I want you to put money into this because you, like me, if you don't see it, you're not going to do anything with it, which is a good thing. And I'm like, 10 years from now, I'd love to see you buy a house in cash. And I go, better yet, I'd love to see you buy it in Bitcoin. She goes, I'd like to do that too. And I think that's our investor. That's right. This is a kid who can take her allowance and put $100 into tokens. Why not? I don't know what her allowance is. I'm just saying when she gets $100, that's what she should do with it versus buying like Birkenstocks or something. Well, although those do last forever, but bad example.
Yeah, and that's a good question. So the offering right now on WeFunder, that's where it's a minimum $100 investment, and that's in the operating company fintech.
Yeah.
So we do award one free ABC token for every $100 invested, but the investment really isn't into the token that's backed by real estate. It's into the operating company that's managing the whole platform. And I'm curious, now that you bring it up, I wonder what it's probably 18 years old. I don't know if they would allow you to invest if you're under 18.
You have to be 18. I already looked it up.
Yeah. Okay.
If there's a way I could, because WeFunder is very cool. I mean, because it's great that you are able to push people to that. I mean, obviously the goal is let's put money into ABC tokens, but to start goofing around and seeing
this is the first step of the democratization.
Cool entrepreneurs. Yeah. It's amazing.
And it's not, in order to stay compliant with the SEC and with regulation, we can't just go selling ABC tokens to non-accredited investors yet. But what we could do was open it up so that they had access to ABC FinTech. And so they can still be part of it, still be part of what I think is a revolutionary company.
It's completely revolutionary. It's amazing.
Innovators. Yeah, exactly. That's disrupting commercial real estate. So
I love it. Yeah. I'm going to hop back in here and switch the gear as we sort of close it down with Deena here. I told you we could go longer than half an hour.
Oh my God, I could talk about this all day.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Don't think about them too much, and I'm not going to trip you up off guard or anything. But as someone who, you're a high level professional, how do you define success?
Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I have a word.
While you think of it, do you want me to chime in here and give mine?
Yeah.
Give me your definition of success.
I think a big part of success is creating a work-life balance, being able to create a work-life balance, and know that spending time with family and loved ones is just as or more important than a successful career. But I think also pushing yourself, constantly learning, like about new technologies or about commercial real estate, or maybe you're a doctor or a lawyer, or maybe you're a tradesman, whatever it is that if you want to be good at it and you're passionate about it and you work towards bettering yourself, so that you can provide for your family and for your loved ones, then all of that is, I think, part of what makes you successful.
I totally agree. So to me, the word is authenticity and value. And I mean that by whatever it is. The pandemic really has taught me to focus on the things that I love and I value and I'm authentic about, and that's family and friends and that work-life balance and priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you find those priorities and that authenticity, and everything else follows. My whole theme this year has been to Marie Kondo my career. And her whole thing is like, if this does not spark joy, I'm not going to do it. I won't. If it does not spark joy, I will not do
I think
it.
it's something about getting older too, Deena.
Yeah.
You start to realize, your time on this earth is decreasing, and so you're like, no, if I'm not interested, if it doesn't make me happy, I don't find enjoyment in it, if I don't feel authentic, there's no sense in spending any time on it.
No, it's keeping that brain going. Like you said, when you're looking up things and being interested in what we're talking about today, but it leads you to like-minded people, right? We're talking today because something very serendipitous happened. And we get excited about this, and we're creating success talking about this. We really are, because we're spreading the word. Like, it's easy to bring this up in conversation now, so I'm excited about it. And the clients I'm talking to are excited, and it leads to one thing, and we do a lot of business, and we'll make money because of that. But that should never be the driving force. It gets you up in the morning.
Okay. So you've been in the game now for a while. Someone on the other side of the spectrum is just now getting in, and they're uncertain. They're like, "Oh, pandemic hit," and maybe don't have the clarity to know, like, I got in at the best time. But what's some of those, like, just key 2 to 3 pieces of advice that you would give someone, regardless of what era of time they live in, that will make them successful in the work that you're doing?
Oh, that's easy. Always follow your gut. Always. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And to me, the dumbest question that's ever asked the dumbest question is the one that's not asked. You have got to ask questions and surround yourself with people who are really diverse. And I mean that in all ways possible. And I think that's what's going to make people successful.
All right, 2 more questions and then we're done. If you weren't in commercial real estate, what would you be doing?
I would be a chef.
Let's go.
I would be a chef. Yes, I would actually. I would be a traveling chef. Anthony Bourdain is my hero.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay,
yeah.
so
honestly, like, really my hero. Like the travel, the experience, being with people, the food, all of it.
Well, this perfectly tees up for my last question.
Oh boy.
So my last question, we talked about restaurant and hospitality has been hit hard. From your perspective, is there an idea or something out there that someone needs to come and really harness and utilize that will bring life to that sector again?
Can you ask that one more time?
So restaurant, right? So it's got hit hard. Hospitality's hit hard. Airbnb is the behemoth, right? That it is. And this is not necessarily drawing on commercial real estate experience, but just you as a curious person. Is there an idea in your mind that's like, man, if someone comes with a restaurant that's like this, or a hospitality business that's like this, they are going to crush this space?
Oh yeah. You know what I would love to see, especially now, people are still nervous about getting out and big crowds and all of that. I miss the whole chef's table experience when you go to a restaurant. If you're lucky enough, and I'm very grateful I've had that opportunity with a couple fun chefs where I can actually sit either at a designated table near the kitchen, or there's actually a table in the kitchen. You're actually experiencing their entire process, and not just the chef, the whole team, right? Because it's not just that person, it's all the line cooks, all of that, to bring people together, right? And sharing that, because I geek out on great food, and I don't care what it costs. I could be going. One of my favorite places is the little divey taco stand that I went to in Mexico City. where I didn't, I was just pointing at things, right? Thank God my friends knew what they were talking about, but it was so fun because we all spoke the same language, which was right. And so, but it doesn't matter your age or your social station or your income level. Like, to me, getting people together and having that kind of an experience, I think that's what's going to bring it back. Even the Airbnb experience, right?
Deena,
Put me on a ranch.
have you been to Giant before in Logan Square on Armitage?
I love Giant. Yes.
So have you sat at the bar that like it's not an alcoholic, it's not a drink bar. It's I call it the bar, but behind the bar are the chefs cooking the food.
It's the best, right? Don't you just feel like you feel the heat, like you're almost sweating with them?
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just watching them, because it's such a small space, and they have great reviews. The food's amazing. And the way they coordinate in the small space, like you said, it's like a masterpiece to go there and watch how they communicate with one another and get out of each other's way. And how each one has a specific role that then at the end, the plate of food is just gorgeous and delicious. And they're all super chill and friendly. It's not even like a high anxiety environment. They're all totally relaxed doing what they know how to do. And you're right. It's such a cool experience to watch that.
And they each stay in their own lane. They know what they have to do, and they do that. And I don't know. I think that's just a great lesson for all of us. So I think expanding on that with hospitality, it's sort of the co-working of food, right? So I think when you look at even just people going back to work, I think everything just needs to be more creative and collaborative.
Experience value. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, Deena, how can people find you online?
LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram.
Deena Zimmerman. That's Deena Zimmerman with 2 M's.
Yep.
Well, Deena, thank you for being a part of this first episode of a blockchain conversation with myself and my co-host, Matt Endelman.
Thank you, Darius. Thank you, Deena. We'd love to having you, and can't wait to talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to connect with you.